It seems that there's going to be a fair raft of Tyranid rules coming in Warzone Octarius this weekend. We've already seen these new Synaptic link abilities, but now there's confirmed to be a supplement for Hive Fleet Leviathan as well. Let's take a look at some of the preview's rules. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where today we're here to look at a few rules that are coming for Hive Fleet Leviathan at the weekend in this supplement book. I've already talked a little bit about the coming Warzone Octarius book earlier today in a video, one of these fairly expensive campaign books where they give a few supplemental rules to various different codexes, plus a bunch of crusade missions and other fluffy things for the sector that's being fought in. Warzone Octarius is dominated by a conflict between the Tyranids of Hive Fleet Leviathan and the Orcs, and the first one, Rising Tide, is confirmed to have a bunch of rules for the Tyranids in these new Synaptic link abilities, buffs that various Synapse creatures can hand out to nearby units. Now, as well as this, there's also confirmed to be a supplement for Hive Fleet Leviathan in the same book, getting it a bit closer to being a worthwhile purchase for Tyranid players, I think. At least these should be some way to making Tyranids a bit more interesting in 40k, while they're still waiting for their codex. So currently in the Tyranid codex, Hive Fleet Leviathan makes your nids a little bit tougher. They give out a 6+ feel no pain type save to any units within Synapse range. As it goes, it's a fairly handy little boost to toughness, and depending on the Tyranid list, it can sometimes be the right way to go for certain unit combinations. Say if you're not going really heavy on shooting, where Hive Fleet Kronos might have been better, or rushing the enemy with Kraken Gene Stealers or something. A small boost to toughness is almost guaranteed to be a little bit helpful. Currently the Tyranid units get a Warlord trait Relic and Stratagem within Codex Tyranids, but Leviathan's options are shortly to be massively expanded. With these mini Codex supplements that come out in these campaign books, there usually tends to be a few Warlord traits, a few relics, and around one page of stratagems. It should be a little bit easier to get your hands on the Warlord traits as well. Tyranids can usually only take one, but they have mentioned that one of the Leviathan stratagems is going to be called Alpha Leader Beast to allow another Warlord trait in your HQ section. Quite nice, as both of the Warlord traits that have been previewed here do look pretty interesting. In any case, in terms of other rules, we've got 1 Relic and 2 Warlord trait previews. I'm sure we'll have more details of the rest at the weekend, and I'll review them all on the channel when we get there. First up, we have the Synaptic Hive Blades, a relic choice for bone swords or monstrous bone swords, and pretty handy for dueling the big nasties in Warhammer 40k, as these just straight up ignore invul saves. Say for example, if you pick these up for a Hive Tyrant, that should be 5 or 6 attacks at strength 6, AP -2 and flat damage 3. And on those stats alone, you should have a really good chance of removing virtually any normal sized character in a single turn. Ignore invuls is really powerful, and often fancy characters do tend to rely on them as their main way of surviving. I guess the main gripe with them might be that they're only AP -2, which does make the ignore invuls rule just a little bit less useful, I think. Say for example, if you're fighting a Space Marine character with a Storm Shield, then the ignores invul save bit isn't actually going to matter at all, as you'll just be reducing the character down to a 4+ save anyway, so it doesn't matter whether or not you've got this relic. It's a bit more useful on anything that say had a 3+ save and then a decent invul after that. You could be reducing them to saving on 5s or lower compared with 4s. Of course it's going to be most useful on anything that doesn't have a good save and relies on its invul, maybe Drukhari Witches in combat or Chaos Demons. They'd really come into their own against those kind of armies. Next we have a Warlord trait called Gestalt Commander, which I think sounds kind of interesting. Basically representing Hive Fleet Leviathan's great connection with the Hive Mind, it basically allows you to steal the best of the 6 Warlord traits for the other Hive fleets at the start of each battle round for your Warlord. That means there's 6 different ones to choose from. I'd say the most interesting ones will be the chance to regenerate some wounds on rolls of a 6, and maybe the Jormungandr one giving an aura of ignores cover to any units within 3 inches. That could certainly be pretty meaningful for certain Tyranid shooting, if the enemy is cowering in dense cover or behind some powerful light cover barriers. Otherwise though, when they don't have anything to buff or they're not injured, you could just go for the fight's first one, or the one that gives you a bit of extra damage on 6s to wound. I'd say for the most part these Warlord traits aren't super powerful, but when you have the choice of picking literally any one that you want each turn, you're pretty much guaranteed that they're going to be doing at least something meaningful. Finally, we have another Warlord trait called Swarm Leader, and as buffing abilities go, I think this might be one of the strongest ones. It basically gives your Tyranids rerolls very similar to Space Marine Chapter Masters, though it has to be commanding the lesser Tyranid bugs, so you've got to pick a Leviathan Infantry, Beast or Swarm unit within 9 inches, and then until the start of your next command phase, they just get to reroll all hit rolls, whether they're in range or in melee. That's a seriously powerful damage boost to basically anything that you put it on. though in particular to anything that hits on a native 4+, that's going to equate around about a flat 50% increase on what damage you'd expect. Maybe the easiest thing to use it on, I suspect, might just be the standard Hive Guard squads. Have some big bog stand around issuing this to these each turn, and then pay for them to double shoot, and you've got 24 strength 8 shots coming out of them each turn that are almost guaranteed to hit the enemy and don't need line of sight. Hive Guard can already be a really frustrating unit to do anything about, and this seems like a way that just for one command point, you could have them do an extra crazy amount of fire on both times that they shoot with their stratagem. I feel like this gets into pretty much auto-include territory for any Hive Fleet Leviathan list. Being able to access an extra really powerful buffing ability just for one command point for buying it in seems like you really can't go too far wrong with it. I guess perhaps the only major weakness is that it does have to be done in your command phase. It means that you couldn't use it on, say, a massive termagant bomb coming out of Deep Strike with a whole ton of Devourers. I must admit it would have been quite nice to have their 90 odd shots, re-rolling all failed hit rolls for even sillier amount of damage. I think between this ability and the Synaptic Link abilities that we've seen, it just seems that Tyranid Synapse creatures and leaders are going to be far more interesting than they were previously. And I think that's a good thing really. I quite like the idea that the big Synapse leaders and centerpiece units are basically the linchpin of the entire army, and if you can gun them down then the rest of the bugs won't fight as well. Finally, as well as this, there's a few more hints for other things coming in the book. It looks like Tyranids will be getting at least some Crusade content support in the book. Kind of interesting to see things quite so targeted. Generally unique Army Crusade content has tended only to come out within the actual codexes. It really does seem that this book's sort of aimed as an add-on to the Tyranid Codex, to try and give them quite a lot of advantages that a 9th edition codex would have. They previewed one thing that you can do for requisition points, redistributing and adapting battle traits on certain units, allowing them to effectively counter new threats as they take them on, much as the Tyranids might do in the galaxy. It is quite fun to see the Crusade rules reflecting the fluff of the models in-game. Finally, there's also apparently going to be an Appendix Tyranid section, which will apparently be collecting the rules from the Blood of Baal Psychic Awakening supplement and reprinting them in this book. That should contain a fair few stratagems, plus they're quite nice options to give adaptive physiologies to certain monsters or units, and basically gather all the Tyranid supplemental content in one place. I guess as convenience goes, that isn't the worst idea in the world. At least for newer Tyranids players, they won't have to track down both Blood of Baal and this book if they want the full rules, even if it is still pretty annoying to have to pick up 2 books in the first place. I'm going to imagine that they're not going to do any significant changes to those rules, much as they didn't do with the Chaos Traitor Legion's collation, but they might make some minor tweaks to make the rules function a little bit better. We'll have to wait and see. Overall though, it does seem like there's going to be a fair amount of value to be had in the book if you're a Tyranid player. It's going to be really interesting to go over the rules once we had them, and see whether either Hive Fleet Leviathan or the Synaptic Link abilities might be able to make Tyranids compete a bit better with the 9th edition books. Let me know what you think of the rules down in the comments below, and particularly if there's any implications that I might have missed. If you've enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, with new videos out just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying the videos on the channel, I'd just like to mention one way in which you can help support, which is my Element Games affiliate link down in the video description. Element Games is a discount retailer based in the UK, and they usually give 10 to 20% off Games Workshop's miniatures, so it can be a good place to buy them if you're looking to save a bit. If you buy anything after clicking the link in the video description, a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics, and it doesn't cost you any more when you order. Could just be something to help support if you were planning on buying some models anyway. For people in the USA and Canada, there is also an Amazon affiliate link down there as well. Again, that works in much the same way. Click the link, buy literally anything off Amazon, and a small amount goes to help support the channel without costing you any more. A massive thank you to you guys who have been helping and supporting in that way. In any case, a really big thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to seeing some Tyranid rules in full in the near future, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.